The superpower you're after, which you actually can acquire through this practice, is to realize that virtually all of your psychological suffering, and actually arguably virtually all of your physical suffering, I mean, the difference between physical pain and suffering, which, I mean, those two are not quite the same thing, is a matter of being lost in thought. It's a matter of thinking without knowing that you're thinking. And what mindfulness does, and really any technique of meditation ultimately should do, is teach you to break the spell of being lost in thought and to notice a thought as a thought. I mean, the huge difference is, until you learn how to meditate or do something like meditation, you're just helplessly thinking every moment of your life. You're having a conversation with yourself. You're having content, whether it's imagistic or linguistic, pour forth into consciousness every moment, and so incessantly that you don't even notice it. It's just white noise. And not only does it completely color your experience moment to moment. So like if they're angry thoughts, you're angry. If they're depressed thoughts, you're depressed. If they're sad, you're sad. So you become your thoughts, but you also feel identified. You feel that you are the thinker of your thoughts. You feel like a self, and it's completely structured by this flow of mentation every moment, and it produces everything you do. It produces all of your intentions and your goals and your actions. And he said this about me, and now I'm going to say this. I mean, so it's like it's everything coming out of you is born of this same process. And meditation is a way of recognizing that consciousness, I mean, what you are subjectively, is this prior condition of just awareness in which everything is showing up: sounds, sensations, and thoughts. And thoughts can become just other objects of consciousness. The enemy of mindfulness, and really of any meditation practice, is being lost in thought, is to be thinking without knowing that you're thinking. Now, the problem is not thoughts themselves. We need to think. We need to think to do almost anything that makes us human, to reason, to plan, to have social relationships, to do science. Thinking is indispensable to us. But most of us spend every moment of our waking lives thinking without knowing that we're thinking. And this automaticity is a kind of scrim thrown over the present moment through which we view everything, and it's distorting of our lives. It's distorting of our emotions. It engineers our unhappiness in every moment, because most of what we think is quite unpleasant. We're judging ourselves, we're judging others, we're worrying about the future, we're regretting the past, we're at war with our experience in subtle or coarse ways, and much of this self-talk is unpleasant and diminishing our happiness in every moment. And so meditation is a tool for cutting through that. It's for interrupting this continuous conversation we're having with ourselves. So that in and of itself is beneficial. But there are features of our experience that we don't notice when we're lost in thought. So for instance, every experience you've ever had, every emotion, the anger you felt yesterday or a year ago, isn't here anymore. It arises and it passes away. And if it comes back in the present moment by virtue of your thinking about it again, it will subside again when you're no longer thinking about it. Now, this is something that people tend not to notice, because we, rather than merely feel an emotion like anger, we spend our time thinking of all the reasons why we have every right to be angry. And so the conversation keeps this emotion in play for much, much longer than its kind of natural half-life. And if you're able, through mindfulness, to interrupt this conversation and simply witness the feeling of anger as it arises, you'll find that you can't be angry for more than a few moments at a time. If you think you can be angry for a day or even an hour without continually manufacturing this emotion by thinking without knowing that you're thinking, you're mistaken. And this is something you can just witness for yourself. This is an objective truth claim about the nature of subjective experience, and it's testable. And mindfulness is the tool that you would use to test it. The self is an illusion, the sense of being an ego, an I, a thinker of thoughts in addition to the thoughts, an experiencer in addition to the experience. The sense that we all have of riding around inside our heads as a kind of a passenger in the vehicle of the body. That's where most people start when they think about any of these questions. Most people don't feel identical to their bodies. They feel like they have bodies. They feel like they're inside the body, and most people feel like they're inside their heads. Now, that sense of being a subject, a locus of consciousness inside the head, is an illusion. That is, it makes no neuroanatomical sense. There's no place in the brain for your ego to be hiding. We know that everything you experience, your conscious emotions and thoughts and moods and the impulses that initiate behavior, all of these things are delivered by myriad different processes in the brain that are spread out over the whole of the brain, that they can be independently erupted. We have a changing system. We are a process. And there's not one unitary self that's carried through from one moment to the next, unchanging. And yet we feel that we have this self that's just this kind of center of experience. Now, it's possible, I claim, and people have claimed for thousands of years, to lose this feeling, to actually have the center drop out of experience, so that you just, rather than feeling like you're on this side of things looking in, as though you're almost looking over your own shoulder, appropriating experience in each moment, you can just be identical to this sphere of experience that is all of the color and light and feeling and energy of consciousness, but there's no sense of center there. So this is classically described as self-transcendence. If I'm saying something and it doesn't make sense, or it sounds like bullshit, the experience in you which says, "Oh, that's not right," right? That feels like you, right? I mean, you're not witnessing it as an object in consciousness just arise and pass away. It sort of has come up from behind, and it just feels like that's me, right? But that thing is always happening. That's me feeling is always happening, and so you just feel like you're in your head behind your face, right? When we're really just connecting with life in a joyful, creative, beautiful way, like when you look out the window and it's the most beautiful sunset ever, and you are just looking at the sunset, right? You're fully connected with its beauty. Those are all moments where you're losing this sense of self. But the difference between meditation and those moments is that you're not really aware of losing the sense of self in those moments. You're not really aware of what is freeing about those moments, and you can't do it in other circumstances. Like you can't, I need the beautiful sunset. Just looking at your shoe isn't good enough for me, right? But with meditation, I can actually look at your shoe in the same way that I look at the sunset. Right? So that's what's happening for people, most people, is that they're waiting for the world to give them a good enough reason to just be present, and to be present so fully that they lose their sense of self. Right? That they're no longer behind their face, just waiting for something good to happen, right? Or figuring out how to change the experience enough so that, again, they can stop. They're no longer at war. I mean, we're to a greater or lesser degree, we're always at war. I mean, we're always fighting something. There's always this you're always noticing something wrong. You're feeling uncomfortable in your body. You're reacting to something that somebody did or you thought they did. You're navigating a social encounter that seems off kilter. It's awkward, and you're trying to figure out what to say, and that sounded stupid, and you're just being blown around. And the moments where you really feel good are moments where there isn't a coming to rest, right? Where it's not about the past or future. It's not about half a second ago, and it's not about half a second from now. And the ultimate version of that is entails the dropping of this sense of self.